So here we go, the fraud's about to fall. 4 quarter, 4 seconds, and I got the ball. Shoot, swish, KRS, ease up, freeze up, you wish. Come on, let's do this. Ain't you kinda tired of the same 5-6 raps? You don't hear me a lot, but you shouldn't forget that. Yeah.
Hola, ¿cómo está? We are here in Spain, Barcelona to be exact, for XO6.
Well, since the event hasn't happened yet, I can just tell you what I'm excited about.
Okay.
The Ensemble Halo RTS, the, what other announcements are there? The Marvel Universe Online, MMO, the Splinter Cell being exclusive to 360, the Peter Jackson Studio.
I think that's probably the most interesting.
I'm actually not excited whatsoever because movie directors making games hasn't worked yet, so I'm not really excited
That's why
about
I'm interested.
I don't particularly like RTS games just because fundamentally, like, the idea of micromanaging people.
But it's Halo. It has Halo. Oh God, I gotta play.
I want to see what they'll do. I want to see what they'll do in the universe, yeah. And I want to see if someone else will, if Ensemble will like muck up what Bungie's done with the Halo IP, or if they'll do it right.
But it's a first-person shooter in an RTS. You can't even compare them. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in the Halo universe or not.
Continue the storyline. I mean, the World of Warcraft takes place in the Warcraft universe.
Is that good? To be all honest, I mean, Halo is a good story, but I mean, like, I just don't find right now the appeal of going from a first-person shooter to an RTS. I mean, granted, I'm not an RTS fan to begin with, but I'd rather see them take the Halo franchise in a different direction than RTS.
I personally think it'd be pretty cool. I mean,
well, it did start as an RTS. I mean, Halo did start originally as a real-time strategy on the PC. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how, you know, an RTS. I mean, I know Lord of the Rings did a pretty well job on 360 and making RTS. I hope they kind of see what they did right and bring it over to this.
Well, the Lord of the Rings project is like the test ground for Command and Conquer. Like, one of the producers on Lord of the Rings is now one of the producers on Command and Conquer 3. That game's absolutely coming to 360. I don't think they'll announce it yet, but fucking bugged. But at some point, they definitely will.
Excited to get my hands on Gears of War again. Excited to maybe get my hands on Mass Effect. See if that's playable. See, they got something new in store for Bioshock. That should be really cool. I was really impressed at E3.
We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us.
So Microsoft spent all this money on Rare, and they'll probably announce like a Banjo game. Maybe everyone seems to think that they will. Is Microsoft just like the kids' corner now?
Rare.
Yeah,
Rare? Yeah, I think.
I see a new Blast Core.
I mean, and you know, if there is a new Banjo game, you know, that would, you know, the last two were pretty good. So I mean, they can, you know. I wouldn't think people want platformers though anymore. Like, is that like?
Ted Price hopes so.
Okay, these guys are waiting for me up there. Anyway, so the weapons for us have been a great opportunity to really take advantage of what the PlayStation 3 can do. This is a fun one, and you can, if enemies run over it, it'll actually blow up. A lot of smoke in my face here, so hang on a second. Take some of these guys out with it. So if these guys run into it, they'll actually die. Okay, I just got hit by this big Widowmaker here, who's actually, he's trying to kill me. He's actually firing the same projectiles. This is a human exotic weapon where they've stolen some of the technology from the Chimera. But you can see he's kind of using it against me too here. Another fun one I like is the Far Eye. If I zoom in, I can actually slow down time here. You see he's moving in slow motion. Of course, my not a very effective weapon against this guy. Ah!
Now, is this the same engine that you're going to use for the next Ratchet game as well?
Certainly, we will be improving, continuing to tweak the engine. But yeah, I mean, we're starting right now with Ratchet. We are using the same technology or similar technology.
Do you have like kind of two separate teams working?
Yeah, we have two separate groups working on the projects. Now, of course, there are a lot of people who are shared between projects as well. For instance, our engine team has been working extremely hard on the base technology. Our tools group has also been helping out both teams. This is one of the larger creatures in the game. Now the Chimera come in all shapes and sizes. So this happens to be one of the nastier ones. And you can see he chases me around pretty well. This is a really complex environment where it's easy for him to get hung up on things, but he doesn't. And that's a real testament to our gameplay programmers who have been working so hard to make our enemies behave correctly.
Is there any anything from Disruptor that you are kind of you learned maybe on that project that you're applying to this?
I'd say we probably learned more on Ratchet when it comes to just basic gameplay techniques than we did that we applied to this game. In particular, the weapons. The reason we could do that with this game, though, is because it's an alternate history story, and so there are really no restrictions on what we can do. I mean, it's been a blast to really take liberties with history and with reality. And I think that it's going to give the players something very different to chew on this fall. Another thing that we've been spending a lot of time on is online.
Is it actually, are the different like language, one thing I remember Phil saying at one point, or someone saying at one point, is that you could have each language on the same disc because of the storage space of Blu-ray.
That's correct.
So is it essentially every version the same with all of that data on it?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Multiplayer is the other aspect of the game that we really haven't talked too much about, and I hope that players on launch day will get a chance to check it out, because there are 5 different modes in multiplayer. All of them have kind of a different flavor, and some of them feature up to 40 players, which I think is maybe a first on consoles in terms of online.
Right.
Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal and Ratchet and Clank Deadlock were very good, I guess, it's a good training ground for us for this game, because we're doing stuff here that we really couldn't have done before in terms of just sheer number of players. So here we have, these guys are slip skulls. I don't know if you've seen these before, but they crawl on walls, and they'll do a pretty nasty job on you, and so I'd normally be dead at this point, but and they're when there are a lot of them, they're very difficult to handle. Grenades are very come in handy in this area. You do get to use a lot of weapons in the multiplayer modes, and that creates a lot of strategy, especially when you're playing with large teams.
I'm surprised at how polished it is. I mean, are you essentially like wrapping up development shortly, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting very close to being done.
When's like kind of the cutoff to hit launch?
That would be soon. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Well, it looks really great. Thanks for talking with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
obviously surprised about the motion sensing controller at E3. Now, was that something that you had intended for the game all along, or was that something that later on you realized you were made aware of that by Sony, and then you added that into the game?
No, actually, it was always our dream thing for Lair when we designed the whole game. We always thought that, okay, we need massive CPU, we need massive graphics, and we need a jump in control. We actually, even for Rogue Leader, back then when they designed the GameCube, we were begging Nintendo to put in motion control because we know that for flight games you can do a lot with it. And then for Lair, when we designed it around the dragons, we knew that, wow, you're holding the reins of a massive beast. So it would be not only cool to actually have the tilt control, the gyro stuff, but actually the gestures, what we're doing. So things where you basically can attack other creatures physically as opposed to just using the old controls. So actually in early discussions about the PS3 hardware, we asked the controller designer for the platform if they please could include it. I don't know if my word made any difference there, but we're certainly thrilled like crazy that they actually did it.
Right,
so,
wow, that's interesting.
There was a plan B, and for a while we worked on the plan B, and there was this pure stick implementation, but believe me, with the pure stick gameplay, this doesn't play it in half as good. Just on the pure flight part, you get such a wider range of analog motion because it is the motion control as opposed to the little thing which you have on the analog stick. But the main thing really is beyond that is all of the gesture stuff where we could simplify pretty complex button layouts for so many moves. So if you want to do a 180, you just do this whip up. Get rid of one button. If you basically want to scoot forward, you dash down. If you want to go sideways and dodge things, you just go quickly that or that, and you can just get rid of a ton of buttons. So you can see I can literally play the whole game single-handedly. Because it's only 2 buttons, and everything else I can do like this, I can do like that, dodge it, and it's not very complicated. It's also not, what people don't realize is you don't have to do huge motions. It's not like I'm going to make monkey out of me, but I can go actually very subtle in my movements, and this thing actually detects it very very subtly and very well. Let's move up to one of these dragons. Oh, and the flight is an obvious thing, but we're also doing a lot on the ground. So again, the analogy being you're riding the dragon. So you're actually moving the dragon on the ground with the motion controller. And if you want to stomp down, you actually hit the controller down, things like that. So yeah, it gives the game a complete physicality and a visceral feeling which connects you with the creature better than anything you could do on an analog stick. No doubt about it. When we finished Rebel Strike and knew that the next hardware generation would be coming around, I was asking myself, well, how do we take every single thing we've ever done to the next level? And one of the obvious takeaways was, well, if we stick to flight craft, and if we stick to linear gameplay where you only can land in certain spots, that will never lead anywhere. So that then led us to, wow, so we need creatures. Because with creatures, we can do the long-range combat like these fireballs here, which are similar to what we did in the past, but then also the locking on and getting up close with the enemies, because you suddenly have these guys which can get next to each other and actually fight up close. So that was the one thing where you would have that. And then the motion control was the obvious next step, where we also would get to a next generation with the control itself.
Yeah. How does it feel to be working on the PS3 with almost like limitless power?
It's unbelievable. It's taxing for a developer, but for a developer like us, we don't see that as a negative thing. I mean, when we finish this, we will probably have touched half of the system power at the maximum, which in previous generations, oftentimes you could say, well, yeah, we can already tell right now that we can get to 80% in the first go and then maybe 100% in the next go, which essentially was the case with Rebel Strike and Rogue Leader before that. On the PS3, I can say when we ship this, there's so much more to go the next 5-7 years of the hardware life cycle, and that's actually what Sony always has been very good in. It's a system which has limitless power for quite a while.
Is there something that you could kind of maybe point out to me and our viewers, like something that is unique to the PS3 in terms of visuals or technology, or something that you could say like this is only possible on the PS3?
Well, one of the things which clearly is only possible on the PS3 is actually running a game with complex graphics like this in 1080p, which Lair is actually. So we are running natively in 1080p, not upscaled or cheated or anything. Then when you look at the whole game world here, it's a seamless experience. So we're handling at the same time on Cell not only these dragons, and about on the bridge we're handling the AI for about 3,000 troops, all of these particle systems, also the whole landscape engine back there. The landscape, what you see is 32 by 32 miles, and it's about 50 times more detailed than what we had in terms of landscape on the GameCube. Now on top of that, the whole light system, if you would wait here 10 minutes, you would see the sun rise actually in real time above the landscape. So all of that is not pre-baked, it's all real-time lighting. You've got volumetric fog, and you've got very, very complex animated creatures. If I go a little bit closer here on the dragon and show you a little bit the detail, that detail, together with all of the other elements in the scene, and actually if you look down here in the ocean, that's a full fluid sim driving those ocean waves, which basically Cell just does on the side there for us. So yeah, no, you can't do this. Both the landscape as well as every single object which you see is actually running through Cell and is going through a process called progressive mesh, which basically means it's being LOD'd seamlessly the whole time, every single bit. So you can get really, really up close. That's why we can land on this bridge without getting any cuts or anything. And it still holds up and is as detailed as something which you would expect from a ground game actually. Wow. So every single polygon is going through Cell. Then once we've massaged it and generated all of them, all of these troops here for example, and applied physics and everything else, then we actually send it to RSX, which then is rendering everything.
How come it is that you guys have a game in 1080p with so much going on and so many beautiful visuals, and a lot of the, well, not a lot, but some of the other titles for PS3 don't have 1080p?
I think it partly comes down to really digging into the system and understanding how you get the maximum out of it in terms of fill rate, which is basically one of the limiting things when you come to 1080p. So you have to have mathematical algorithms which are very good in terms of determining what you actually want to draw on screen. Once you've done that, actually the power of the RSX is really plentiful to actually run in 1080p. So I would expect for second generation and third generation games that pretty much every single game will switch over to running in 1080p actually.
Wow. Are you guys at all Panzer Dragoon fans?
I am a Panzer Dragoon fan, and that's why consciously there isn't a single bit of Panzer Dragoon in here. No lock-on or no linear gameplay, so no Panzer Dragoon elements. No, I love the series way too much to rip it off.
So when does the game release?
Spring of 07.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us.
Right,
it looks excellent.
Yep, thanks.
Enemy reinforcements! Take cover! Drag out!
That one was on the house. Good luck, Delta.
Get up those stairs. Alpha's waiting.
Okay, man, here we go. You still got it?
I guess we'll find out, huh?
it's what you expect, and it's solid what you expect.
So okay, Gears obviously like their game. There was like, did you think it lived up to what people hoped it would be? So far from what you've seen.
I really want Gears of War to be really good. I really want it to be the big game that Microsoft's looking for it to be. I really want it to be the game that Cliffy and Mark have talked to me about. Like, I've heard both of them be so enthusiastic about the game. And like I said in the multiplayer preview, there are parts of the cover system that aren't there yet for me, in that, like, there's a little bit, it feels like it could be user error or it could be a design choice where, like, mashing into cover doesn't feel as intuitive yet. And, like, after sitting through Cliffy's presentation today, and he, like, sort of details the controls a lot better and how to do it, and he makes it look really easy when he's playing the game.
Now, we've talked before about Gears being a stop and pop game. It's not a run and gun game, right? So what it is A is all move in the game. If I press and release A, I roll. If there's cover nearby, I can dive into that cover. You'll notice Mark is actually grimacing right there because slamming your shoulder into the wall like that does in fact hurt. If I press A and out of cover, I roll out. If I'm in crouching cover and I can climb into any area, it's climb. If there's nothing around it, I press and hold A, I do what's called a roadie run. This is our cinematic CNN type camera. So if I'm actually in cover here and I press forward and A and it's standing cover, I do what's called a cover slim. And this is my way of seamlessly moving forward. So essentially by pressing A and holding A and forward, I can move through the level. So I roadie run, I slam into cover, forward and A, keep A held. Roadie run forward and A, keep A held. And I can just traverse the level this way. So it's kind of a new way of thinking, it's kind of a new way of moving.
That leads me to believe that there's probably, what I'm hoping, I guess, optimistically, is that there's a lot more depth to Gears than we're seeing right now in terms of, like, the nuance of playing and stopping and popping and covering. And I hope that that's there. But
yeah, we haven't seen any boss battles or anything like that kind of stuff.
We haven't
so
seen.
That's where, like, there's more to the game that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, well, we're still seeing the same sort of like grayed out, destroyed daylight zone, and we know that there's more to the game than that. So I'm still optimistic. I still think it's going to be very good. It still looks incredible. Yeah, like, it looks great.
Waiting to see that one thing that blows us away, like we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I think part of me thinks that they're holding that back, for they want gamers to be surprised when they play the final product, and
Yeah, I mean, Cliffy's that type of person who wants to surprise people. So.
Sony booth, I played a lot of Lair, and I played, MotorStorm and that stuff, but one of the games that I don't think anyone's really talking about is Unknown Realms, Monster Kingdom Unknown Realms, which was like a weird action RPG.
It's not like MotorStorm where you can just pick it up and start playing it.
Yeah, that's true.
So a lot of people probably just, let's go play the graphics games.
Especially if you couldn't figure out what to do with the control after you do like a standard attack. So you could run around just attacking everything, but it's pretty boring because the standard attacks don't really do much. It's not like there's like a sweet combo system or anything. You kind of have to do the soul capturing stuff, which is where the game really gets interesting.
was like one of my favorite things to do with the tilt controller because it was really cool. So like you could pull souls out of the enemy creatures, and it actually had like these little triangles on the screen, and like people weren't getting it. I was just watching it. I got it. It's like there's like one triangle that's big, and so you had to actually adjust. You like adjust it to make it hold right in that bar, and then you pulled it back this way. And then once you got it, then you could just like yank them out.
Yeah, the yanking is the fun part.
That was very cool.
You're like, yeah, stealing your soul. There were several different types of enemies in the demo, but it seemed like some of them it was harder to steal the souls from than others. Like,
I thought maybe it was like having to do with how bad you beat him up before you tried to steal the soul from him.
Maybe.
Like, remember the big, like the chimera looking thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, the first time I tried to pull him, dude, I was like left, right, and it was really, really hard. Like the second time I went after him, I had powered up my imps. So I had like 6 imps to throw down there.
Right.
And then like after I went after him, it was like 1, 2, pull him out.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you see that giant kind of like, looked like something out of a Miyazaki film, like a kind of tall black creature, but then every once in a while, the spikes.
That was really bizarre, wasn't it?
It was a rad creature, though. That's part of the thing is that the creature design seems really cool, and the levels look beautiful.
Like, the colors, man, the colors were awesome. It's like so rich.
We'd seen screenshots with like the giant beds of flowers and that sort of thing, or fields of flowers even. But yeah, when you see them in motion, it's really pretty. Did you notice how the camera kind of controlled itself through most of the game? There were times when you could take control of it, I believe, but pretty often it was like stuck in one position, so you never had to worry about it. Kind of like a Onimusha game.
You know, overall on PS3, like camera design is getting better. Maybe it's just because they have more power to work with, but
maybe, or maybe they're just getting smarter. So this game's interesting mostly, I would say, because of the soul capturing stuff, which kind of makes it feel a little bit like Cameo maybe, but I don't say that as a negative trait of the game. It's
it's not a knock.
It was only a short demo. It'll be interesting to see how many different souls you can steal. It's not like Cameo where you like unlock a specific entity to turn into. Like in this game, it seems like you just walk around and find the guys sitting there, and
well, it's going to depend on how many monsters there are to steal.
Hopefully it'll be one of the cooler action RPG type games that come out early in the system's life.
And already a lot of polish in the graphics and the animation and the style, the art style, totally awesome.
Super good.
Yeah, it looks like a fun adventure game.
Yeah, really cool.
All right, we just got XO6'd, and we're back. We're done. We're done with the seeing all the games. Bioshock. They showed us the scene like basically you're taking down one of those big daddies, or like those big hulking mechs. And it was super intense. Like, it was just a crazy demo. Like, so much like shooting, and like for me, that was the game of the show. Like, that was, I mean,
my game of the show was probably, I mean, again, Mass Effect.
Depth and deep role-playing systems. You will deploy your team in real-time, squad-based combat.
Like sitting there and listening to them show Mass Effect and talking about all these things that it's going to be. I mean, I hope we're not about to get Molyneuxed. And I say that, you know, with my tongue in cheek, because we checked out Fable 2. And by checked out Fable 2, we looked at like a PowerPoint presentation with Peter Molyneux detailing the 5 things he likes most about Fable 2.
You know, with this industry is doing a lot with role-playing games now. Well, we have got to go one step further. We've got to go one step further than all those other guys are doing, because that's what Molyneux was made for. It was made to push itself.
I have a game that really surprised me. I never ever thought I'd be saying this game was like promising, or like, I mean, I just like, I've been down on it since day one, and now like I'm like kind of weirdly looking forward to it. Like I'm not even close to Bioshock. I mean, nothing like that, but like Crackdown.
We've gone for quite a different, you know, graphic style to the game as well. We really wanted to give it quite a dynamic drive, really to suit the over-top kind of abilities of the agents themselves. It's also an extremely persistent world. We look very carefully at what people love doing, and for some of the achievements and leaderboards, like the most ever kills in 60 seconds, we find that people were spending half an hour setting up events, blocking off rows, trying to get as many people together, laying huge lines of satchel charges. So unlike many other games we've played, we remember persistence very, very, very well. So we have given the players the opportunity to do those kind of things, create amazing events that they really want to video and show their friends, and really get some of the leaderboards, some amazing values on the leaderboards. Once you finish the game and you come back, and you're a higher level agent, you can play the game again with your agent. It's quite amazing, what maybe takes half an hour to do.
And I kind of got a kick out of it. Like,
it's fun.
It's
just a fun game. It's just like a bubblegum pop song.
Those agility orbs, like they're all over the world. Like I was like just searching the world looking for these agility orbs. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah, and it's a different kind of take on the free roaming GTA thing, and I'm not the big.
It looks like GTA without a lot of the bullshit.
Yeah, well, I mean, people looked at me funny when I came back from Germany, because when we were in Leipzig, people looked at me. They were like, "Crackdown, really?" And I was like, "I'm telling you, it's a lot better than you think it is."
I don't know how great it is, but it's way better than I thought it was ever gonna be.
It's a really pleasant surprise. It's a really pleasant surprise.
I've lost a lot of faith in Nintendo in the last couple weeks.
Really?
I've lost a lot of faith in Sony in the last couple weeks. I know they're gonna have good stuff.
Yeah.
But Microsoft has really surprised me.
Yeah.
Especially.
I kind of feel the same way.
It's solid. It's solid. It's reliable.
And it's stuff we've seen played. We're seeing it played. I mean, maybe it's just the advantage of being out a year earlier. I mean, maybe that's kind of unfair advantage right now.
For me, Sony still has to prove that the price is worth it. For Nintendo, they have to prove that the controller is
Sony has a lot to prove. Online.
They've proven that their plan, it's going to work, for me personally, as gaming taste goes. Maybe not business-wise, but for me personally.
Overall, I think in terms of shows that we've seen where companies have have had you descend on some arcane location to look at their games, Microsoft did a pretty good job showing what they needed to show to at least they've definitely confirmed to 360 owners okay, we've got some cool stuff.